Good evening. Yeah, I was saying your that issue you had with that date. Were you able to fix it, or did you find out what? Okay, okay, okay. Fine. Okay. So, all right. So, good evening, everyone. Session B for week two. We're going to start up now. Last night we did most of the heavy lifting of data cleaning in Excel. So we removed duplicates. We fixed raised the inconsistency in some regions, handled missing values, and corrected date formats. I noticed that many of you were not online when we did the last part, but I think you find it in the recordings. So tonight we are going to go a bit deeper. We are not doing much tonight. Today is Sunday and tomorrow is Monday. I plan to have some short videos that won't be not necessarily in line with what we are doing, our curriculum, but it's going to be about Excel tips, right, and tricks in Excel. Maybe just 5, 10 minutes videos that I'm going to be sharing with you guys within the week. So, but the recording for our classes will be in line, of course, with the curriculum. That one will just be like a bonus class, a lesson, right? The videos I'm going to be sharing with you guys. All right. So tonight is going to be just, even though we go a bit deeper, but it's not going. We are not going to spend a lot of time in this. What is left in the data cleaning and getting your data ready. All right. So we have cleaning problems that tend to be invincible on the surface, right? But they cause serious errors in analysis. So I'm going to show you what they are and how to fix them. So as we go further, you start to see some limitations of Excel that when you get to Python, you realize, this is a better way of doing this. It's actually better we do it like this. When we get to Python, you're going to see it. But for now, let's look at some of these things in Excel. So we are still using this sales data, but yeah, you'll notice that what we are trying to look at, one of the things we are going to look at is extra spaces. One of the invisible problems we are trying to fix is extra spaces. Say, for instance, you have, let's say, this region. When the whoever it was that typed it, even if it was a data form that was shared and people filled it, there's a possibility that when the person was typing maybe this first entry, Kano, he there was a space before the first K. So we are trying to see when you have unnecessary or extra spaces in your data, how do you fix them? How do you fix those unnecessary and extra spaces? Because it's very, very important to address this as well. It's very, very easy to have this in your um what's it called in your data. For instance, when this person was typing Port Harcourt, sorry, I hope I'm sharing my screen. All right. So it's possible that this person, when he was typing Port Harcourt, he gave two space, right? So how do you fix this particular problem? Now, this is what we are going to do today. When you have unnecessary or extra spaces in your data, how do you fix it? So to fix it in Excel, of course, it's an English word. You are going to use trim, right? Trim is a formula that is used in Excel to get rid of spaces or blanks that you don't need. So let's add a helper column, let's say by the end here, so that we don't have to do it there. In the label, let's call this helper column cleaned region, right? Let's call it cleaned region. Now, initially there were no, I doubt if there was extra spaces in most of the entries, but I just introduced it here so that we are going to see how that is done. So the formula to get rid of extra space is you call on equal to tell Excel that this is the formula, and then you type trim, Trim, right? And then since we want to clean this region column, let's go with the first one. The region column is in column D, and then the first entry is D2. So once I click on D2 and I go back to where I was typing the trim, you find that D2 is there. So we can just close the brackets, and then when I click on equal to, it will fix it. So if there was a space, be it before or after, trim is going to get rid of that necessary space. Did you see how we created it? Some of you might have used it before, some might have not. So that's how you trim extra space when you have extra space in your record. Now, this is just for the first one. Now, I know I told you this is not just Excel. Like I said, what the idea I have is some of the Excel tricks and how to do some things that is not part of the curriculum. I'll just be making videos, not with these data sets, as just short Excel tips and tricks, and I'll be sharing with you. So now, if I want to do the first one is equal to trim, and I called on the cell that I'm trying to trim or correct, right? So if I want to do the second one, which means D3, the second region, or okay, the second region, assume it doesn't have a problem, no extra space. This one, yeah, there's extra space here in the fourth region, which is the cell address is D5. So now if I want to do D5, I'll go to L5 and I'll say equal to trim, and I'll now write the name of the cell address there to tell Excel that this is the address I'm trying to trim. And it will get rid of the space that is there, right? But this is actually wrong because you are looking at what's it called? You are looking at this particular cell. It's going to be stressful to be tracing each and every one of these cells that has extra space. So why not just apply the rule to all the cells, right? You just apply the rule to all the cells. Since you have this, there is what Excel calls autofill that you guys might have known already. So autofill is where you copy a particular formula throughout your data to where it should be applicable, right? So if I drag this now to, let's say, this particular part, I think that's D6 or something. The formula of trimming the particular data will be carried out on each and every one automatically. So this one will be done on D2, and this one will be done on D3. This will be D4, D5 will be trimmed. What happened? D6 will be trimmed here as well. So that's how this autofill works. The way it works is that all right. The way it works is that if you come to the edge, like the bottom edge, bottom right edge of your, I'm not recording. Okay, I'm recording. Sorry. So if you come to the bottom right edge of your cell where you used the formula and you want to copy the formula down towards your entries, you can either, if as you are hovering over that particular dot, there's a dot there. There's a dot there. Once you get to it, the cross that is being used, this plus sign, it will become a plus sign, a black plus sign. And if you click on it and drag, that particular formula will be applied downwards in your record. That's one of the ways you can do that, right? But of course, the easiest way, since we want to copy the particular formula from the top right to the bottom of our entries, so that it will be applied to all the regions we have here, we can just simply come to that particular dot and just double click, and then the formula will be applied to every single thing you have there, every single entry you have there. So if there's anywhere that there are extra space, it will be trimmed, right? That extra space will be trimmed. Now, you have this particular, it's been done. Now you would like to replace, sorry. So now you would like to replace these corrected region entries with, sorry, you would like to replace what you have here with this, since you did it in another column. This is called a helper column. If you use another column to correct a column you already have, probably to clean it or do something else, that column you created or that you did that on is called a helper column. So we would like to copy the records that is in this helper column so that it can replace what we have in our region column, what we already have in our region column. So we would copy all the entries in the helper column. Let's say shift control down key, and then we copy it, Control C. Then we now come to our region column, the very first record in the region column. Click on it, and then you go to paste, or you just right click. You right click. So you want to space special records, even though it's there, but let's not use the shortcut. Let's use the normal way first. So if you are in the where you would like to, the column you would like to replace, you go to paste, you now click on space special, you choose values, right? And then you click on OK, right? So this will just paste the records that you have here in the cleaned region that you created. It will paste it without the formula, so that you can now double click, you see the records there. The formula will not be included. The formula will not be included. You can look at it and you can edit it. But if you check this, what you have there is because this data was created with a formula. What you would have there is the formula for each one. So let's go through it again and see what happened. Now let me Control Z so that I can undo the changes I made. So I'm saying I'm trying to before I pasted it. So this is the initial records in region, right? All the spaces are there. As you can see, Kano is aligned a bit to the indented to the space with a space. So if you want to replace this corrected value, you would want to have it there. What you do is you copy the records where you have the entries, the corrected entries. You hold on Shift and Control and the arrow key down, and then Control C to copy the whole thing. Now you would go to your region column, the top of your region column. You click on the first cell, you go to paste, right? So the paste is just this one. You can just paste this. If you can't find the particular type of paste you want, you can go to paste special, but you just click on this. What this will do is it will paste only the record. It will not copy the formula, because there's a possibility if you don't paste it like this, you might be pasting everything including the formula. So you just paste values, and it will be recorded with the values that you have here to be saved. And the values that you have here will be saved in your new region column. Now, you are free to delete this particular column you created. You select the whole column, you right click, and you click on press delete. You would have deleted that column. Okay, so that is how you trim a particular record when you have a column that has space. One of the places that people that fill up forms normally make mistake is in the names, right? Name column. You might find mistakes in name column. Maybe when the person was trying to type his name, unnecessarily he introduced two space. This one, maybe two space or something like that. As you can see, okay, I have other issues here, but let's fix the name column first, right? Maybe double space, or there's a space here. So you still follow the same procedure. You create a new name column and you call on trim, right? To trim every single one of this. So the name column is J, so it's J2, and then you close it. Now, you now autofill to copy the formula downwards. Anywhere there's a mistake, it will be corrected. So once you've copied it, you've used the form autofill the formula everywhere. You now Control C, come to the first cell of the name column, paste values, and everything will be corrected. You are done. Escape to unselect this name column, and this is your new column, and then you delete everything you have there. That's how you fix that. So that is true. It's very, very important, because spaces do cause a lot of issues when you are dealing with data. All right. Any questions so far? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I get what you're saying. We can, maybe when you get to programming, you'll see it, but we can as well try what you're saying. Uh, let's type out pot haircut, right? Let me give space here. And then, what are we even looking for? Trim, right? Trim, trim. So this is cell, this particular cell. Look at it. Look at it, right? So what happened is that trim, normally if you type anything you type, if it is two, if you have like if you type two things, two words or two strings, and you gave it one space, trim is not going to remove that space. It will consider that space as something that is okay. It's when you, if the space is, if you have two spaces between, now it will now recognize that one as an error, right? Basically, just think of the rule as this: trim allows a maximum of one space between any two words, right? Anything more than one gets trimmed down to one. So that one space always stays, right? So if you'd like to know, we are going to treat what if you the whoever it is have it together like this. Maybe this is what you are trying to say, that okay, what if, I get what you are saying, that okay, what if why isn't it trimming the whole thing and removing the one space? It's not just about Port any, if you have two words in the cell and the words has one space, trim will be okay with it. It understands, the way Excel set it up is that it will understand that okay, one space is okay, but when it's two, trim is going to get rid of one. When it is three, trim will get rid of one. So the other problem states like Port Harcourt might have is when someone merges it together, right? Let's merge it together in this particular space. Port Harcourt, right? So trim will not solve that problem. So, but one of the easiest fix is what we did with checking each record. You can go to region and you check, because Port Harcourt will be recognized, the one that is merged will be recognized as another state. So you now do find and replace to fix it, to introduce space to anyone that has been merged together. So, but for your question, if you have any word that has one single space between, trim would be okay with it. It will leave that one space. But anything more than one or leading space, maybe if you have leading space, right? Just look at the things the trim would remove. It has three rules. It removes leading space. Leading space is when you have a space and indentation before the first character, right? Trim will remove it. Look at this particular one, it has been removed. It has been dealt with. So, or if you have trailing space, this one that comes before the first character is called leading space. If you have trailing, Trail, trailing space after the last character, right? Last word, trim would also remove that trailing space. The next one is extra space between words. So it's now left to you. If what you are trying to type has two space, is your problem. Trim will still remove one of the space there. So that's how it works. I hope it answers your question, or maybe I didn't get it correctly. If it answers your question, please let me know. All right. So any other question? In the absence of any other question, we are going to do the next thing. So if you notice my name column, it might be different from yours. I have tampered with it a bit, I think. So because I want us to do, what we have next is dealing with standardizing text, right? The proper way. We want to standardize text the proper way. So we already used find and replace to fix things like Kano, all uppercase, and Kano proper or lowercase. But I would like to show you three functions that handle text case automatically, right? Because when you're dealing with larger data sets, find and replace is not going to work every time. So find and replace becomes very, very tedious. So you need to deal with it properly. Now, let's say in your name column, you have some names that is not in proper case. Some of the first letter is lowercase, some all lowercase, some all uppercase. How would you fix this with just one single formula, or by just fixing, just using, instead of using find and replace for each one? Because if you look at names now, even though, okay, yeah, we established that they fixed that problem, but you find that you cannot fix you cannot go through your data 300, even though this one is just 300, to be sure that all the data is in the proper case. So one of the easiest fix you can have is deciding, do you want all these names in uppercase, or do you want it in lowercase or in proper case? The way to do that is, there's a formula for it again as well. So let's call this sales rep. We don't need to even add the name. Let's use a helper column. The formula is the cases you have in, in English, you have uppercase, lowercase, proper case. Upper will convert every single thing to uppercase. You can use a formula for it. You have upper, right? If you want all the names to be in uppercase, all capitals, right? So if you want all the names to be in all capitals, we can say upper, then we use the reference of the first column, and we close it. So this will change that particular, the record you have there, to all uppercase. And now if you copy the formula downwards, you will see that all the names will be converted to uppercase, right? So, but obviously this is not what we need. So the other thing is, if you want them to be in lowercase, you say lower, and then you pick the first one, it will change that particular name to lower. So you have upper, lower, and proper. The right one is, of course, that we would want to use is the proper case. Proper. So even if the one you just picked is correct, don't worry. It's not as if it's going to return an error. It will check. If it's correct, it keeps it going. If it's not, it fixes it. It will fix it. So it's going to correct the record you have, and you can drag. As you can see, Fatima Umar here, it's all in uppercase. But when I fix it, you can see that it has been fixed to proper case. So that's how you can use so you see, this one is simpler than using find and replace to fix the cases. So we can copy this down, copy the formula, have it here, and then paste the values, and that's all. And then you get rid of this one, shikena. All right, and another thing about deleting, okay, yeah, if you'd like to delete columns, if you select a column like this, and you just click on delete on your keyboard, you press delete, it's going to delete the records in that particular column, not the column itself. So if you have any formatting you have in place, it will still be there, right? Anything you have in place will be there. It will just delete the text. But if you'd like to delete the column itself, you can just right click, and then under the option, you'll see delete there. You click on delete, and the whole column will be deleted, to be replaced by another column, right? So that's how you delete. Because you come across columns that you want to delete, but there are formattings on it, and you want the formatting to be gone as well. So there's a right way to do it. You either delete the record or delete the whole column. All right, so that's how you deal with cases. You can use this case now to fix everything else. Like, you can do this for category to be sure that everything is in order. You can do it for sale. We just did it for sales rep. You can do it for any column you think is not in the right way. So you have three core tools when it comes to data and text cleaning, right? When you are talking about text cleaning, you have three tools. You have using trim, proper, and find and replace for other things you cannot do with trimming. So you use find and replace for that. Or you use the cases of normal, upper, lower, or proper case, right? These are the tools we've done for cleaning text, right? So the next thing we had on our agenda, we said we are going to do today, is dealing with when you are trying to prevent future errors, right? You are trying to prevent errors from coming up again. How are you going to go about this? Assuming you are creating this sheet, this workbook for collecting records, right? And then maybe you know that the sales rep that will be entering it, you are trying to prevent them from making mistakes. Everything we've done so far, basically, is fixing existing problems, right? But what about when you have future data entry? Let's say this is a continuous record, something that they'll keep making entries in. And if someone adds new transactions to this particular data set and makes that same mistake, maybe wrong formats, wrong regions, all this cleaning that you've done will be for nothing. So how do you fix a future, like you, how do you prevent mistakes that will come in the future? That is when where you apply something called data validation in Excel, because data validation is Excel's way of controlling what can be entered into a cell. It's like putting guardrails, like guards on your spreadsheet, so that it's not, people can't say, maybe the person entering the record cannot enter what they like. So you give them a fixed entry what they can enter. Let's just look at an example you understand better. So let's still use our good column, the region column, right? Let's say we select the whole region column right now. So you want to select the whole column, you come to where the header is D. It will be an arrow showing pointing downwards. You just click on the arrow and to select the whole column. So that until you exhaust this sheet, anything you do to this column, you want to set a data validation rule on this particular column. So where do you find data validation? You go to the data tab at the top here. You have home, insert, draw, page layout, formulas. You click on data, right? You click on data, and then under data tools, mine here, I'm seeing symbol, maybe yours might type it out, but this is data validation, the one at the bottom here, right? Data validation. All right. Once you click on it, you'll see a dialog box. A dialog box will open. You have settings, input message, error alert. So under validation criteria, you'd see allow. Allow, right now it will say any value, but if you click on the drop down, you pick lists, right? Lists. So ideally, already you know how many regions you have. Even if it's a company, you know how many branches you have. So you would want to, what this is going to say is you want to pass a rule for the only the data that will be allowed in this particular column. What are the data? You now pass the states, right? You have Kano, Lagos, Abuja, Kaduna, Port Harcourt, right? Ibadan, Enugu, and Katsina. Katsina is the last state. So you have Kano, Lagos, Abuja, Kaduna, Port Harcourt, Ibadan, Enugu, and Katsina. You type it out as the source. You are saying you are allowing a list of values to be entered in this particular column, and this is the list you want, right? So you click on OK. Once you're done with that, you click on OK. Now, this will change the way values are entered in this particular column. If you go to the bottom, let's say here, let's go to the next cell. And then let's say Sokoto is not part of the list and I typed Sokoto. It will say, it will return an error. Hello? Any issue? Okay, Mr. Steven. Sorry. Okay, good. For real, it's not showing. Uh-uh. Please, is it the only one having issues? Like, is what I'm doing, is there motion to it, or you are just seeing a static screen? Let me know so that all right, so okay, like all this movement, you can see it, right? this movement I'm making. Okay, okay, okay. Let's go over it again. It's not a problem. Let's do it all over again. Uh, all right. So I said but you were with me when I selected the column. All right. So it's on data tools, and then data validation. And I was saying the regions. Normally, the way we do this, if you're the one that prepares this workbook, if you have things like this that you have categorical data, you have, apart from data dictionary, you have another sheet that you probably explain. You have a list of things you have. You can have a sheet for, let's say, regions and things like sales rep, a record for your in-house record. So you can have all those records here, regions, you have this particular region, sales rep, and so on and so forth. But here, since we didn't create that, we don't have that for now. Let's just say you know the regions, they are not much. You have three, four, five. I think it's just 8 regions. So once you have that, you can just go to data validation. I hope you can see the data validation. All right. So, oh, it's someone written there. So you change the validation criteria. It's asking you, what do you want to allow in this column? Right now it's on any value. So that's why anything someone enters will pass. So you can like restrict it. Sometimes you want a column that, let's say, age column. You can insist that, okay, it should be a whole number, right? It should be decimals, or it has to be a date, things like that. Or you provide a particular text length. So, but for our case, we have a particular category of data that would like to be what is allowed in this particular column. So what you do is you pick lists, right? And then in the source, I said you provide the names of the states that are allowed. If you have it somewhere else, you can just copy it here and paste it. Copy it from that particular place and paste it here. Any issue? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It seems there's a dialogue box. I get what the problem is now. I think that's what he was talking about. Um, um, how do I do this? I was trying to share the dialogue box, but it's not popping up as a screen that I can share. But well, let's just leave it. Let's leave the dialogue box. But basically, I mean, Mr. Steven, I know you are following along, so I don't know if you, after you went there, did you see the dialogue? Are you seeing the dialogue box? Are you using it? Okay, 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 okay. Maybe in the video, or I will fix this. Maybe this will be this will definitely be the last class we use GT. I'm tired of GT. I don't know why they prefer us using GT, but I'm tired of it. We'll use something else. We'll go back to what's it called? Google Meet. All right, so I'm typing out the states now. The way the dialog box is, is that maybe when you try it yourself, you see it's not H. Messed it up. Uh-huh. It's just that you have a pop-up, a dialog box where you are expected to type to choose what you want to allow, and then what the source of what you want to allow is. It's under the source that we are typing it. I might print screen and maybe share it in the chat so that you see the way it is. Enugu, Kasena, I have all the states here. I've typed it out. Maybe when I get back to the main screen, you'll see what I'm doing. So after you're done with that dialog box, you click OK. You would have the region. You would have set a validation rule on this particular region. so that one can't enter anything they like. I'm done with the dialog box now. So one can't enter anything they like. So when you come to, let's say, you try to enter another state that is not in that particular data you allowed, list you allowed, that particular state would fail. You'll not be allowed to enter it. But when you enter an accepted state, like Kano, it will be accepted. Abuja will pass as well. But once you say Kebbi, it will fail, right? You can even pick what you want this error message to be. As you can see, it's saying, I don't know whether you're even seeing the pop-up of the error message. It's saying this value doesn't match the data validation. You can also pick it, but the fact that they can't see what I'm doing, and maybe some of you are not using your system, so you won't be able to see how to pick it. But in the data validation dialog box, you can choose the error you want to be displayed. So another advantage of using this data validation, since you have a list here, especially when you are using a list, you don't even need to type it out. You can just click on the drop down, pick the state that person is from, and then you can keep going. The next one, you click on the drop down. Okay, this is Ibadan. You choose it. You don't have to even type it out. That is data validation. So this will restrict anybody typing from typing rubbish. So once the person comes in now and he's typing Ibadan, he forgot the A and he just wants to keep going, there will be an error. He will be forced to fix it. This thing will save you time that you would have spent in cleaning, right? It will save you time. So that's how you can validate that. So this is how professional Excel systems are built. When you are building a system, the data entry person can only choose from a drop down. If you are building a system, you have to have used data validation, because it would be stupid to give someone free access to enter anything they like. In fact, most of the columns when we build systems like this, they have validation. Like this particular unit price, you fix it, you make sure the person entering it is using numbers, right? Numerical figures, not that someone will not make a mistake. Maybe where he's supposed to type say stationary, he now typed it in units sold. He has messed up your data and he might not go back to fix it. So you use data validation to force those corrections. So we can add this same validation to maybe payment, this similar validation, since payment method is also a categorical data. I think where is payment method here? Yeah, so we have different payment method. We have cash, credit, transfer, and POS. We have unknown here because we have missing data. Had it been when this data was created, there was data validation, the person wouldn't have been able to miss this particular entry that is saying unknown. So you select the K column, you add a data validation rule. This time is also going to be lists, right? So you add a rule that okay, it has to be cash, transfer, POS, credit, right? Either cash transfer, POS, or credit. Or no cannot be there with the person has to include a particular record. Now, for the record you have so far, there might be unknown, there's no problem. But from now henceforth, anybody that wants to enter data, they have to choose a valid allowed entry. So if you type unknown, it's going to show you an error that okay, this is not a valid entry. So it has to be POS or cash or transfer, right? So it makes your work faster and cleaner using validation. Mr. Steven, I hope you saw how I did the payment method. Maybe you should do it too. Yeah, but like I said, click, but you can see it now. It's just four, like you can do it. Have you tried the region or no? It didn't work. It works, but okay, so for this one is even shorter since you have only four payment method: cash, transfer, POS, and credit. So I was saying right now you have unknown there, it's fine because it was there before. You don't know what the transaction method was. But from the last entry henceforth, anybody that is entering the record, they can no longer be unknown. It has to be one of the four: cash, transfer, POS, or credit. So that's how data validation. Now imagine if this was uh, put in place before any of these entries was recorded, it would have been fine and there will be nothing like unknown or missing and so on and so forth. So that's how data validation works. You can make the same rule work for what's it called? The numerical figures as well. You can try it. It's because that the dialog box is not showing. Maybe in the recording you will see it. Well, we should leave that for now. Maybe I can share a short video of how to do that, how to set validation for numerical figures and the rest. To just be a short video. I'll share it with you guys. All right. So the last thing, no, one of the, I think what we have next is we left something up and we said we are going to fix it some other time. I think it is this revenue. I think it is revenue. Yeah, it is revenue. So remember I told you, I showed you that this revenue Nigerian naira is currently just a typed number, right? I told you that maybe I don't know whether I mentioned it, but it's wrong. Revenue should be calculated automatically as units sold multiplied by unit price, right? Unit sold multiplied by unit price, because that's what revenue is. It's just like you calculating profits. You calculate the cost and then the how much it was sold, and then you subtract the this thing to get the profit you got. So revenue as well is units sold, right? How many units was sold by unit price will give you the revenue, how much that particular customer paid, right? So we are saying you are not supposed to, this, of course, this is a calculated, it's not as if you'll be using calculator to do, for instance, you say the first one, 9 times 1,800 and you get 16,200. No, this is supposed to be a calculated column. Right now, it was just typed in. How do you fix it, right? It's supposed to be calculated, because what if you found that maybe, okay, you said unit sold is 9 and then the unit price is 1,800. They sold 9 units. And then you use calculator to type in this 16,200. That means if you make changes to this 9, you later realize that it's 11 units that was sold. You'll have to still calculate this yourself. So, but you're supposed to use a formula to calculate this particular column to get the revenue. So, for instance, it can be, the formula to do that can just be using the first entry as an example. It can just be equal to units sold, right, times unit price. As you can see, it has calculated it as 16,200, right? It's very, very simple. It's supposed to be a calculated column. Unit sold times unit price. Now, if I say the unit sold is 11, the revenue would change. The revenue I just created would change automatically. That's how it works, right? So we should even make the changes directly into our revenue column. Let's change this. Let's remove the typed in value. That's even a text. So it's going to be equal to G2 times H2, which is unit sold times unit price. And once I click on OK, you see it still gives us 16,200. When any change is made here, let's say the customer bought 12, not 9, it will also affect the revenue, right? Even if the price was wrong and maybe you want to adjust the price to 19, it will also affect the revenue. So that's why calculated columns are important. So this is just for the first column. If I want to make if I want to effect this change to the whole column, I can just double click here. Now, the issue you would face, okay, let's do it out so that this missing columns will not affect what we are trying to do. Let's do it out here so that we can just do it one time. Unit sold times unit price. Because of that, those missing columns, I will not be able to autofill the whole thing there because it will break anywhere there's a missing column. So I can just calculate it like this. Now, it's returning an error because there are places where unit sold is missing, right? you have places where unit sold is missing. So anywhere you have missing unit sold is going to return an error, right? A value error, because what we have there is non-numerical. We typed missing and we are trying to multiply it, that missing, with 12,000, for instance. So it's a value error because you cannot do that multiplication. There is a fix for this, but because we left the revenue, we say we are going to deal with revenue in, I think it's going to be in week 4 where we deal with conditional statements. But we can do the fix right now so that you can see how we can handle that right now. We can still use, instead of leaving that error error statement, we can fix it using an if statement. I will not go deep into if now, but let me just fix that problem right now, and then I will explain what each step is. So let's add a conditional statement that will say if G2, since we have something that is not numerical in our unit sold, we'll say if G2 is missing, just leave it as nothing. If it is not, give us G2 times H2. All right, let's see if it works now. So I'm saying, don't worry about the if statement, but let's explain what's happening. If you look at the formula bar, we are saying because we are trying to calculate this revenue column, we now found out that some of the units sold is showing missing. I didn't mean it's blank. It might even just be 0, but the values are missing. So it's going to return an error because it's like you saying missing times 12,000. So this is going to return a value error. So the way you fix that, if you insist, we should decide to fix this revenue now, but I don't want to fix it now. I want to leave it to come to that. So the way we fix that is to introduce an if statement. I don't know if you've done if elsewhere, conditional statement elsewhere, but it's basically a conditional statement that if a particular condition is met, do this. If it's not, do this, right? So this if statement is saying, let me zoom in. Okay, I can't zoom in here. Let me zoom in here. Okay, it's going to be too short. I don't know if you can see it, Sha. So this if statement is saying if what is in G2 is a missing value, it should just return blank cell, right? In the units, in the revenue. If it is not missing, is this comma? Then if it is not missing else, which is the else statement, it should now do the calculation. I'll send you a short note on this particular calculation, how it's done. It should now do G2 times H2. So anywhere it comes across a missing value in unit sold, it will ignore, it will not do the calculation, it will just ignore it and it will return a missing, it will return a blank cell there. So anywhere missing value, there is missing value in unit sold, it will return blank cell right there. So that's how you fix what you have in the revenue. Instead of you having what is it called? Instead of you having to deal with errors or typing in the revenue manually, you use a calculated column. So now I want to copy the values in the revenue, the one I just created. I want to copy it and paste it there. Paste it in this particular revenue. Let's paste the values only. All right, so also, sorry, I'm not pasting the values, I'm pasting including the formula. Why is it showing a 0? Okay, shifted it. That's why I had to do it here. I refuse to do it here because of this suffering that I'm going through here. But let's see what we can do here. Let's just do it here. Equal to G2 times H2. And then because of that missing value, I can't autofill. That's why. That's why I'm dragging it down. And it's not even G2 minus, I've forgotten that we used a rule, but what's the rule? If G2 equals to missing, what do you want to do? Bam, bam. Or if it is not, calculate it. So let's drag that down. So we don't have that error now. It will just leave it blank. Anywhere there's no data, we don't have unit sold is missing, it will leave it blank. So it's if particular data is missing, then G2 times H2. So I know there might be issues here. Any question here? Any issues here? All right. So all these revenue cells are now valid. If you change this particular missing to, let's say, 53 units were bought, it will instantly calculate the revenue. It will no longer be blank. If you change any missing or you change this number to 21, it will calculate, it will change the revenue as well. That's why calculated columns are important. So this is another step of how professional column spreadsheets work. Revenue cell is now formula driven. So if anyone updates unit sold or unit price value, revenue updates automatically. All right.